My first guest is Louis Silverstein. He's a distinguished professor of humanities at Columbia College, Chicago, Emeritus, and he is the author of Encountering Life's Endings, which I have personally read, and I have 20 pages of notes that I gleaned out of it with so much wisdom. Louis gave me a small introductory statement for himself, but I also want to share that he is just an amazing person. He's a wonderful professor who's inspired many, many, many students. And he's the father to 2 artistic children, which says volumes to me. So everybody, please welcome Louis Silverstein.
Okay, so let me start by saying how did I get interested, why did I get interested in this subject? It started out really in the 1940s. I was born March 7th, 1940, 80 years ago. My parents are from Eastern Europe, father from Russia, mother from Poland, immigrated here. I was born in 1940, and I was born into a world filled with death and dying. World War II. And it impacted on me tremendously, because the first association I really had with death and dying was horror, man's inhumanity to man, fear, and wanting to escape from that as much as possible. That was my initial relationship with death and dying. I also grew up, my parents were working class, poor working class mother and father. We lived in a neighborhood which was, there was a lot of violence in there as a child. I saw people's bodies being cut, with knife. I saw people being shot as a child. And that was my relationship. Death is really a monster. Dying is absolutely a monster. And we need to get rid of it, personally, not get involved with it. And isn't it good that our culture, our society is taking death and putting it in the kinds of places that Mark talked about that we would not want to be near, we would not want to be involved with, because what did it signify in my consciousness there? So years go by, but I want to go back to something else, because Mark started with birth. I offered a course on death and dying at Columbia College for many years, but I also initiated, I was the dean of the college there too, a course on birth and culture. I think as far as I knew, this is back in the early 70s, as far as I knew, this was the only course on birth, outside of a medical school. And it was taught by 2 nurse midwives. So the strength was really, look at not just the theoretical, but the practical. And there were students who took both courses. So whether they realized it or not, they were really getting inundated, embedded in the cycle of birth, death, death, birth, that is the cycle that occurs naturally there. So what then happens? Well, I don't know how well you can see this. Can you see? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to. In that photo, there are pictures of 4 people. And now I'd like to read just one page from my book that relates to those 4 people and the people that they loved. Louis, my son, I have some news for you. Your father is dead. He didn't suffer, died at the age of 89. Lou, I, brother Joe, have lung cancer and I'm going to die. Mom, I have something to tell you that you need to know. Joe died this morning, died at the age of 47. Louis, I've, brother Eddie, been diagnosed with amyloidosis, one of the world's rarest diseases. There is no cure for it. I was told I have between 1/2 year to 2 years at the most to live. Mom, I can't believe I have to say this to you again. Eddie died this afternoon, died at the age of 44. I should also add that my brother Joe, who died at 47, his son was killed at the age of 9. Lou, hi, this is Al. Mom died this afternoon, died at the age of 94. Here we have the natural cycle reversed. My mother had to bury her 2 youngest sons. She had to end a relationship with her 2 boys there. And I remember her saying, screaming out loud, God, 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 why did you take them? Why did you not take me? Please take me before my other two sons go. Lou, I, brother Al, have lung cancer and I don't know how long I have to live. It looks like you're going to be the last of the Silverstein family. Lou, hi, this is Barbara, Al's widow. Al died this morning, had a series of strokes, and then passed away in his sleep, died at the age of 69. So whether I had a choice or not, death, dying was becoming integral to my life. I am 80 years old. My wife is 74. We've had a number of conversations. We just had a recent one. How do we want to die? Where do we want to die? What do we want to do with each other after we pass? And we both know that a death, ends a life, but it doesn't end a relationship. Okay, a death ends a life, but it doesn't end a relationship. And we have choices, as Mark, I think, pointed out so well, how we decide, to foster that particular relationship. What do we want to encounter, embrace, when we're in their presence in one form, whether it's, a body, in some sense, encased in something, perhaps, hopefully not encased in the materials that Mark just talked about, but perhaps encased, in a setting where the person has put it in the ground, that is, along with some mushrooms or seeds of other plants or trees. And as you go there and you see that his essence or her essence is emerging once again, through that particular form there. So we thought about that. But before we thought about it, we had these other deaths and dyings, passings to deal with. So what I wanted and what my family wanted, my brothers, my mother and my father, is a setting in which when I return to where they are, in whatever form it is, that it would invoke in me a kind of relationship that I had with them, that aspect's relationship that they wished I continue with there. So my brother Ed, who died at 44, as best I can show you this, I don't know, okay, I don't know if this is a lotus flower. And Eddie, this is Eddie. He is in a lotus pond on Maui, Hawaii. And he chose this lotus flower because he wanted his spirit to be remembered, his soul to be remembered with a particular essence. And lotus flowers go through all kinds of transformations. They're considered one of the sacred plants, on the planet Earth there. It also has transformative aspects to it there. So another reason my brother chose this particular form to have his ashes put in is that since he was about 12 or 13 years old, my brother Eddie traveled in altered states of consciousness. Okay. He began using psychedelics, which I think many of you know right now. I hope you do. It's being used throughout the world. It has been used throughout the world. And psychedelics is mind manifesting to help people process the dying experience in an altered state of consciousness there. And when Eddie was a week before he died, we were together and he told me, Louis, I have no fear of death whatsoever. And it's not because, he believed in traditional religion. He said, I've been there before. I've been beyond this particular body, okay? And I know that there's something that will continue to exist, although exist might not be the right word there, to continue to be in relation to you after I'm gone there. So I want to be put in a place where I will be continue to show you who I am. I also want to put in a place that it's safe for people to travel in altered states of consciousness when they're dealing with those who have passed. Because the truth is, when we come in contact with anything, we're in a normative state of consciousness, and sometimes that is not the best state to be in order to fully take in what it is out there. And I think, again, I believe many of you know for many years, Stanislaus Grof, among other people, has used psychedelics to help people process the dying experience, particularly people who have cancer. And this is also occurred with Vietnam veterans who are going through a death experience of PTSD there. So then we also had, conscious of time, we also had my father. My father's name was Jacob, Jack. My father was a very challenged man. You know, his father died at a very young age. He had to drop out of school, go to work there. He was a very difficult father to have as a child. But one of the things he did do is that he brought home gelt, money for us to be fed and clothed and housed. That was the one aspect of him that I remember